Imagine scrolling through history, seeing women fighting for equality votes, jobs, rights. But what if feminism isn't just about empowerment? What if it's a cleverly disguised tool for control, benefiting the powerful while dividing society? Who really profits from feminism? In this video, we'll explore conspiracy theories suggesting feminism is a mechanism for influence and population control through so-called gender equality, uncover its pitfalls, examine real-world impacts, and predict its future. From shattered families to declining birth rates, the story might shock you. Stay tuned, this could change how you view the world. Let's start with the core question: who benefits from feminism? At first glance, it's women gaining rights, independence, and opportunities. But conspiracy theorists argue it's not that simple. They claim feminism serves elites, governments, and corporations by disrupting traditional family structures, boosting the workforce, and curbing population growth. For instance, some theories posit that feminism was engineered post-World War II to get women into factories, doubling the taxable workforce while having wages through increased labor supply. This benefits big business with cheaper employees and governments with higher tax revenue. More sinisterly, it's seen as a tool for population control by promoting career over family, delaying marriages, and encouraging birth control. Feminism allegedly reduces birth rates in developed nations, easing resource strains for the elite. Theorists like those in anti-feminist circles link this to eugenics movements, where controlling women's reproduction prevents overpopulation among certain groups. Even radical feminists in the 1960s called for seizing reproductive means, but critics flip this to say it's co-opted by powers funding family planning to limit global populations. Now, the theory of control through equality, proponents argue feminism masks manipulation by pitting men against women, eroding social cohesion. Under the guise of equal rights, it allegedly promotes individualism over family, making people easier to control via consumerism and state dependency. For example, with more single-parent households often led by women, governments step in, with welfare increasing reliance on the system. Conspiracy narratives claim this divides genders, weakening resistance to authoritarianism. In the manosphere, feminism is viewed as a plot to emasculate men, turning them into compliant workers while women enter the rat race, benefiting corporations that exploit dual income needs for debt-fueled lifestyles. Some even tie it to Marxist strategies, where destroying the nuclear family destabilizes capitalism from within. Imagine a society where traditional bonds are broken, men and women no longer form stable units, instead becoming isolated consumers, constantly chasing material goods to fill the void. This isolation makes it easier for media and advertising to dictate desires, turning people into predictable economic units. Elites, in this view, thrive on a fragmented populace that's too busy fighting gender battles to notice broader inequalities like wealth gaps or corporate monopolies. Feminism, they say, redirects anger from class struggles to interpersonal ones, ensuring the status quo remains unchallenged. But if feminism empowers, why are birth rates plummeting and families fracturing? Don't click away. Next, we expose the hidden pitfalls that theorists say are intentional. The pitfalls are numerous and often overlooked. One major downside is the erosion of traditional roles, leading to higher divorce rates up to 150% since the 1960s in many Western countries, and single motherhood, which correlates with child poverty and behavioral issues. Feminism's push for career equality has created the double burden for women: full-time work plus most household duties, spiking stress and burnout. Mental health suffers too. Studies link feminist ideals to increased anxiety among young women, chasing having it all, only to face infertility from delayed childbearing. Economically, while women gain independence, wage gaps persist due to choices like part-time work for family, and society pays with lower productivity from work-life imbalances. Conspiracy angles amplify this. Feminism allegedly fosters gender wars, fueling movements like MGTOW, men going their own way, further dividing society and distracting from class issues. In extreme views, it's blamed for declining masculinity, rising male suicide rates, and cultural decay, like the normalization of casual sex leading to STD epidemics. Let's delve deeper into these pitfalls. Consider the impact on children. With more parents working long hours, kids often end up in daycare or with nannies, potentially leading to attachment issues and emotional instability. Theorists argue this creates a generation more reliant on institutions rather than families, priming them for conformity in adulthood. Women, promised liberation, often find themselves trapped in corporate ladders that demand total devotion, sacrificing personal relationships and health. The beauty industry booms as feminism intersects with consumerism, pushing women to spend billions on products to meet empowered standards that are just repackaged patriarchy. Men, feeling displaced, retreat into subcultures that breed resentment, widening the rift. Socially, this leads to loneliness epidemics. Record numbers of singles in their 30s and 40s, regretting delayed life milestones. Pitfalls extend to education. Girls outperform boys in schools tailored to feminist ideals, but boys' struggles go unaddressed, contributing to a boy crisis with higher dropout rates and unemployment. In workplaces, quotas for women can breed tokenism, undermining meritocracy and fostering resentment. Overall, these hidden costs paint feminism not as pure progress, but as a double-edged sword, where gains in one area come at steep prices elsewhere, often benefiting systems of power more than individuals. Diving into conspiracy theories beyond population control. Some claim feminism is a CIA PSYOP from the 1960s to destabilize families and promote consumerism. Gloria Steinem admitted CIA funding for her magazine. Others tie it to globalist agendas, like the UN's gender equality goals, masking depopulation efforts in the West while ignoring abuses elsewhere. Anti-feminist conspiracies portray it as a Jewish or elite plot to weaken white populations, blending with far-right ideologies. In the Canaan sphere, feminism is linked to deep state efforts to erode morals, with women as unwitting pawns in a larger control scheme. Expanding on these, consider the role of media. Hollywood and news outlets amplify feminist narratives, but theorists say this is orchestrated to normalize behaviors that fragment society. For example, promoting strong independent women who don't need men leads to fewer marriages, more abortions, and smaller families, perfect for elites who want fewer people competing for resources. Some theories go further, suggesting feminism intersects with transhumanism, where gender fluidity erases biological differences, paving the way for AI and biotech control over reproduction. Artificial wombs and egg freezing are hailed as feminist victories, but critics see them as steps toward state-controlled breeding, eliminating the need for traditional families altogether. In developing countries, Western feminism is exported via NGOs, disrupting local cultures and creating markets for global corporations. Conspiracists point to how this creates dependency. Women enter low-wage jobs in factories, boosting profits from multinationals while local economies suffer. The #MeToo movement, while exposing abuse, is accused of being weaponized to create paranoia between genders, making interpersonal trust rare and surveillance like HR policies more pervasive. Far-right theories blend feminism with cultural Marxism, claiming it's a communist plot to abolish private property by first abolishing the family unit, as outlined in early socialist writings. Even environmental conspiracies tie in. Feminism's role in lowering birth rates is seen as part of a green agenda to reduce human impact, but selectively in affluent nations, allowing elites to maintain dominance. Shocking, feminism has led to a fertility crisis in the West, but who's celebrating? Keep watching for the real-world outcomes and a bold future forecast. What has feminism led to, positively? Women's rights advancements, voting, education, legal equality. But negatively, as of 2025, birth rates in Europe and the US hover below replacement levels, 1.5 to 1.8 children per woman, contributing to aging populations and economic strains. Family breakdowns, 40 to 50% divorce rates, with 80% initiated by women, linked to feminist empowerment narratives. Socially, backlash grows. Young men increasingly reject feminism, viewing it as anti-male, fueling incel cultures and political shifts like Trump's 2024 win. Globally, while aiding women in oppressive regimes, it faces accusations of cultural imperialism, ignoring non-Western issues. Overall, it's polarized society, with gains in equality offset by relational fractures and demographic crises. Let's expand on these outcomes. In the workplace, women now hold more leadership roles, but glass ceilings persist, and the pink tax on products shows exploitation continues under feminist branding. Health-wise, delayed motherhood has spiked fertility treatments, with IVF industries booming but success rates low, leading to emotional tolls. Men's outcomes include higher incarceration and homelessness rates, as feminist policies allegedly favor women in courts and social services. Culturally, media portrays men as villains or buffoons, eroding male role models and contributing to identity crises. On the positive side, feminism has reduced domestic violence through awareness and laws, but critics argue it overstates issues to justify more government intervention. Economically, dual-income households drive GDP growth, but at the cost of skyrocketing housing prices, as families need more income to afford basics. Immigration policies in low birth rate countries import labor, altering demographics and sparking cultural clashes. Theorists say this is intentional to dilute national identities. In education, affirmative action for women has balanced fields like medicine, but STEM gaps remain, and boys' underperformance leads to societal imbalances. Socially, hookup culture, promoted as sexual liberation, has increased loneliness, with apps like Tinder commodifying relationships. Mental health crises among youth, especially girls, correlate with social media's feminist-influenced beauty standards. Globally, in places like the Middle East, feminism inspires reforms, but in the West, it's morphed into fourth-wave activism, focused on intersectionality, often alienating moderates with extreme demands. Forecast for the future. By 2030 to 2040. Expect intensified backlash, rising anti-feminist sentiments among Gen Z and Alpha, with more men opting out of marriage. Feminism may evolve into post-feminism, focusing on intersectionality but facing resistance from conservative revivals. Population decline could force policies reversing feminist gains, like incentives for motherhood or restrictions on abortion. Conspiracies predict a great reset where feminism's role in depopulation backfires, leading to societal collapse or authoritarian fixes. Optimistically, a balanced equity feminism could emerge, but pessimists see endless gender wars. Looking ahead, by 2050, AI and robotics might render gender roles obsolete, with feminism adapting to advocate for human rights against machines. But if birth rates continue falling, governments could implement mandatory family policies, like in dystopian novels, tax penalties for childlessness, or state-sponsored matchmaking. Backlash might spawn new movements. Women regretting career over family choices could lead a tradwife revival, romanticizing domesticity. Men, empowered by online communities, might form parallel societies, eschewing traditional commitments. Globally, as developing nations adopt feminism, they could face similar declines, shifting power dynamics, perhaps leading to a multipolar world where non-feminist cultures dominate. Conspiracists foresee engineered pandemics or wars to cull populations further, with feminism as the softening agent. Positively, if feminism integrates men's issues, it could foster true equality, reducing divisions. But with climate change and resource scarcity, low populations might be seen as a boon, entrenching elite control. The wild card, biotech advancements, like gene editing, could make reproduction artificial, rendering feminism's reproductive rights moot and shifting debates to ethical control over life itself. Now, let's explore more nuances in the control theory. Feminism's emphasis on body autonomy has led to widespread abortion access, but theorists argue this depopulates the workforce pipeline, benefiting automation pushers who want fewer humans. In entertainment, feminist icons in movies promote independence, but subtly encourage consumerism by makeup to be empowered, travel alone to find yourself, all feeding corporate coffers. Education systems, influenced by feminist pedagogy, prioritize emotional intelligence over hard skills for boys, allegedly creating a compliant male populace. Women's entry into military and police forces is hailed as progress, but conspiracists see it as expanding the state's enforcement arm with diverse faces, quelling dissent. In politics, female leaders are celebrated, but often follow establishment lines, suggesting tokenism rather than real change. The Me Too era exposed predators, but also created a culture of accusation without due process, eroding trust and justifying more surveillance in workplaces. Social media amplifies feminist outrage, but algorithms boost divisive content, keeping users engaged and distracted from systemic issues like economic inequality. Pitfalls extend to health and biology. Feminism's denial of gender differences, in extreme forms, ignores evolutionary psychology, leading to mismatched expectations in relationships. Women pursuing high-stress careers face higher cortisol levels linked to autoimmune diseases. Men, discouraged from toxic masculinity, suppress emotions, contributing to heart disease and shorter lifespans. Childless women in later life report higher regret rates, with studies showing fulfillment tied to family. Economically, the gender pay gap debate overlooks choices. Women often select flexible jobs for work-life balance, but this perpetuates disparities. Society-wide, low trust between genders hampers collaboration, from business partnerships to community building. Conspiracy lenses see this as deliberate. A divided populace votes along identity lines, allowing elites to manipulate elections with wedge issues. Outcomes in 2025 show mixed results. Women's literacy and employment are at all-time highs, but happiness surveys indicate declines since the 1970s, especially among women. Suicide rates among men are quadruple those of women, linked to feelings of obsolescence. Cultural products like books and films increasingly portray feminist utopias. But real-world metrics show rising antidepressant use. Globally, feminist NGOs push for change in Africa and Asia, but local backlashes accuse them of neocolonialism, imposing Western values that disrupt harmonious traditions. For the future, by 2040, virtual reality might create gender-neutral worlds. But physical realities could see fertility clinics as big business, with feminism advocating for reproductive justice that includes cloning. Authoritarian regimes might co-opt feminism for propaganda, claiming equality while suppressing dissent. Democratic societies could see referendums on family policies, rolling back no-fault divorce or mandating paternity leave to balance burdens. If AI takes over jobs, feminism's work equality push becomes irrelevant, shifting focus to leisure and relationships, potentially healing divides or exacerbating them if tech widens gaps. In conclusion, while feminism has liberated many, theories suggested benefits elites through control and division. The pitfalls and outcomes paint a complex picture: empowerment with unintended costs. As we head into the future, will it adapt or implode? If this sparked thoughts, like, comment your view, and subscribe for more deep dives. Who's really winning?